With the 2025 Formula One season coming to a close, and the F1 making its way into the new regulation period with cars already being built and pretty much ready for testing, we're going to get two separate cars, one for the private test and then another for the public test where the car will look much better, have more downforce, and they'll know where they can actually gain more time due to reliability concerns. We can talk about teams and what's been going on, who's ahead for this next regulation period based off of rumors, some insiders I have, going over news articles, and what we already know about the teams. The time is very close for these cars to be shown, and while there is a lot of BS mixed in, and you can never really truly know till the cars hit the track and we see who's quickest based off of the timesheet, there's no fire without smoke. And a lot of the drivers have spoken: Leclerc, Hamilton, Max Verstappen, Lance Stroll, Fernando Alonso. We're going to be using what the drivers have spoken about as well and discuss it in this video, going over every team, who's ahead. If you're new here, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Would mean the world to me. Getting close to that crazy goal that I've always had. So thank you all for that. Let's get started with the video. First engine we're going to speak about is Audi's. Now, we've recently seen their R26 concept car, where the Audi project showed off its kind of livery without really the sponsors. And this car is somewhat of a model. Binotto has gone on to speak that the car itself has the basic aerodynamic features of their current car that's in the wind tunnel, but will look much different both in January and in February. He said the car that we'll take to the track for Barcelona test will be very different from the one to debut in Australia. They will try and understand the car, the interaction between chassis and engine, and energy management for us is also important, saying the version we'll bring to the test will in any case be far from the final one. And that's mainly for reliability concerns, seeing as these are new engines, and for Audi, their first engine in Formula One, which is a huge deal. Binotto has gone on to speak a lot about how the engine and downforce correlate a lot with weight, and it'll be very important to figure out this collaboration to get a perfect balance at the start of the season. Audi has already gone on to announce that 2030 is their goal of winning a championship. In 2026, he said whoever reacts best will win, will be ahead in 2030, which are some bold words. In 4 years is ambitious, but a start for the Audi team. I've read rumors somewhere that they're only down about 30 horsepower, which is a lot less than I expected. There were reports earlier where Audi was down drastically and they looked like they were going to be the back marker of the grid. Could that still be the case? Yeah, very possibly. But from what Binotto's been speaking, there's definitely more hope now for the Audi team and fans in general. As he's gone on to speak, the changes have also been designed to be in line with completely sustainable fuels. Patience will be needed at the beginning because big changes can lead to disruption. We've seen that plenty in this regulation period where big upgrades come, completely ruin the balance of the car. Now, when you're working on a power unit and the chassis itself, if you take a wrong turn somewhere in the simulations, that could be a big hit for probably the rest of your season. So while Audi doesn't look like the best car, it surely doesn't look like it's going to be the worst. It looks like everything's going to be pretty close. With that said, we're going to go into Red Bull Ford. Now, I do have some inside information here. I can't completely speak about what I know, but there are some things to say and big improvements that have actually happened on the Red Bull Ford design. It's going to be very interesting to see what they do with the chassis design because right now it's not an Adrian Newey car. It's going to be made by Pierre Wache, and we'll see what direction he goes for, whether both drivers can drive it or it's still just going to be a Max Verstappen car. Now, as for the engine, Wache has spoken and said it looks very, very promising. In the beginning, they were having issues just like every other team. And from what I've heard, these issues have been resolved. And while it isn't their goal to win straight away, because this still is going to be their first engine design made completely by Red Bull themselves, not just in collaboration like with Honda. Of course, with Helmut Marko and Max being on that team, the ambitions are going to be high. I've not heard any numbers on the Red Bull Ford, whether they're about 30 HP down, 30 HP up. And those numbers usually relate on whether they're down or up to the Mercedes engine, who seems to be the favorite as of right now. And even Red Bull and Max Verstappen have gone on to say that he thinks in 2026, Mercedes will be the quickest car. based off of the experience they've had and everything that he's heard around the paddock. There's a couple of other things I'm going to mention later on in the video about Mercedes. It's a lot of positive things, very little negative about the Mercedes car and their engine. But for Red Bull, I'm hearing much better things than I did earlier in the season. And a lot has came out about them making upgrades in 2025, sacrificing 26. But in reality, it's been old parts. They haven't really been put through the wind tunnel and just in simulation. So they're not really sacrificing too much of 26. We already have a release date on when we're going to see the car/livery, which will be in my hometown, so hopefully I get to go see it. Now speaking about the Ferrari team, there's a lot of mixed signals coming from the team in Italy. Now, the guy that was making their engine in the start was Zimmerman, who ended up getting picked up by Audi. And apparently the reason why Ferrari quote-unquote let him go, I think it was more of a leave by himself. But let's just go along with what most of the articles are saying. Zimmerman was released due to the reliability of the Ferrari power unit. There have now been recent reports, per usual, calling the engine revolutionary. Somewhere in the intake, it's a revolutionary design. You know how Ferrari likes to speak, and especially the Italian media. And now we've also seen that their Project 678 is going to be running a push rod in the rear suspension. So while the car is very close to done, the power unit itself has been going through reliability testing, and Leclerc and Hamilton have said the car's taken great steps in the right direction for their driving and the way that it feels. That was quite the opposite reaction we got from Charles himself in Silverstone. But now towards the end of the season, he's given more positive thoughts and feelings towards Project 678. And Auto Racer IT themselves have came out and said Ferrari will not be the favorite for 2026, which has kind of been aligned with what we've been hearing. It's supposed to be more gradual than just right away, so we'll have to see if that's truly the case. Now looking at the team in green, this was a team that kept a lot behind closed doors. Very hard to get information from them, but a lot has came out in the most recent couple of months. Obviously with Adrian Newey being the tech guy over there, it's going to be a car that aerodynamically will probably work phenomenally. But now, as of most recent reports, Honda's engine is closest to Mercedes, and it's supposedly them two up at the front. The aerodynamics will make the difference. That's how close it is. Some insiders from Aston Martin, like Carlos Miguel, has said he's been getting positive messages from the Aston Martin car for 2026. And then he also went on to speak about saying that he's getting positive messages about the Honda engine, not like in the McLaren era, where even from preseason testing, we heard that engine was behind in deficit. They had to end up changing so much of the components to make it work in the chassis. It was quite the mess over there at McLaren. They've learned from their mistakes. Clearly, they've been probably the best engine in this regulation period where everything's been frozen. Adrian Newey's been stuck at work and has spoken a lot about working as a team, getting into a trance working on the car, and the amount of effort going into the 2026 car. They even ended up firing some big engineers over there at the team, like Eric Blandon, who was a big contributor to Mercedes' fastest cars. Not the main guy, but a guy that did help a lot. But in recent times, he's kind of made a pretty okay-ish Aston Martin car. Definitely could have been better, and a lot of upgrades failed under him being either the head guy or right under. So they've pretty much kicked out most of the people that have really not done well on the upgrades over there. Dan Follows, Eric Blandon, and a couple of other engineers, with Adrian Newey and then obviously Enrico Cardile being the head guys. Andy Cowell also has spoken a lot about this being very positive and them wanting to fight directly in 2026 for a championship. A lot has also been spoken about the drivers making a big difference in this regulation period, not it just being down to the car. So it'll be very interesting to see what a very adaptable Fernando Alonso can do to try and win his third at this very young age. Last team to speak about, which is probably the giant for 2026, is the Mercedes car. Now, I chose to speak about them last because mainly from rivals, we've heard how good their engine is going to be, but they themselves have not came out and spoken a lot about it. There's not many rumors. All the rumors that do cover the engine are just saying it's going to be the fastest and quickest. Nothing about what they're actually doing to get it to that stage. But Toto Wolff has been very positive to this regulation period, not wanting it to change. And if we're to believe the drivers and team principals, it does seem like Mercedes has a bit of a buffer on the rest of the grid, Honda being the closest. A lot of people don't speak about it, but James Allison is a very good technical director, and it's not been spoken about a lot, especially with McLaren being so ahead in the aerodynamic department. But it looks like Alpine, using the Mercedes engine, will already do a test before we even get to the January tests, doing a little shakedown on a track with its car already prepared. They were one of the teams that completely abandoned 2025. Williams and Aston Martin pretty much as well have all abandoned that 25 car to focus on 26. And everything is pretty much made and ready. Those first cars are pretty much done and they're already working on other plans. We've even heard Audi speak about working on their 2027 and 2028 engine. So we're kind of given an idea of where the pecking order is sitting at right now, with Audi towards the back, but not as far as they were in the beginning of the season when we were speaking about these rumors. And it seems like Red Bull and Ferrari are pretty similar in pace, just based off of the rumors, and Honda and Mercedes seem to be the closest. I guess it's a toss-up between the two of them. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Obviously, we're not going to know till they hit the track. I'm only speaking about this because of all the information we've gotten surrounding it, and as I said, they're only rumors till they become true. A lot of this was coming out before the 2022 regulation period. We saw that Ferrari ended up being the favorite, and Red Bull was still really strong as well. So let's see what actually becomes true. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Please leave a like, subscribe, it'd mean the world, and peace.